KLCS spotlights the winners of the 2015 Video in the Classroom Awards in the Los Angeles Unified School District. This is the Video in the Classroom Showcase.
Hello and welcome to the Video in the Classroom Showcase. I'm Jorge Briseño. Throughout this series, we're seeing how students and teachers in the Los Angeles Unified School District combine various disciplines of the school curriculum into award-winning classroom video productions. All of the videos featured in our program were recognized at the 2015 Video in the Classroom Awards. The most effective schools and teachers are always looking for ways to improve their practice. Our next video is providing a great service in showing other schools from across the country how Sun Valley High School is striving to improve teaching and learning. The video is appropriately titled Instructional Rounds.
Last year, the principals in our local network and the instructional directors, who are the individuals that are directly above the principals, we engaged in instructional rounds at our local schools to get a sense of the type of instruction that was taking place in the classrooms. We also brought with us usually one or two members of our instructional leadership team to also experience that. The instructional rounds allowed us the opportunity to see what was happening in our own classrooms, but also see what's going on in other classrooms and bring the two different schools together. We started working with Fulton to team up and visit their school, have them visit our school around how our different schools were implementing Common Core. And then based on the Common Core waiver that we have as a district, as a focus school, we were given the responsibility of really honing in on the development of the English learners and making sure that our instruction and our professional development really centered around that. And so our instructional rounds became opportunities to go see what was happening in the classroom and get a sense of what was or was not being implemented in the classroom from the professional development being delivered to teachers.
So the Sun Valley High School ILT members met, which consists of the department chairs in each content area, met with the Fulton ILT members, and we met at a conference, and that's the first time we worked with them. So we looked at the data for both schools, and we found a common trend, some areas of needs, and we found that the EL learners actually weren't meeting the A through G requirements, and also they weren't passing the KC. So our problem practice revolves around the EL learners so that they are able to meet the A through G requirements and pass the KC the first time. It took some time because we had to sort through the data and we had to look at the previous years and really figure out what we want the problem practice to be.
We start with an activity to bring the groups together so that the groups that are working in observing classrooms, even though they might not know each other, they get to know each other in a sense of, we're all kind of the same. We're all doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So what he did was he took us into what low inference data looks like. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that has judgment, and it has to be very specific. We need to analyze. We need to go into it and say, instead of saying, "Oh, the kids were engaged," you need to say a specific number, for example, or what they were specifically doing is the most important thing. Sometimes you go into classroom and the students are working and you see what they're working on and it's self-explanatory. Mm-hmm. Other times you do have to ask students and like questions like, hey, what are you working on?
The tool that we've been using to go and observe classrooms really is a graphic organizer of what are the students doing, what are the students saying, and then any other generic notes. And folks are given the task of just scripting. Script what you hear, what did people say, what did they do, 3 students did this, 2 students did that. And as a result, it's lowered the effective filter for a lot of the teachers that are getting used to the idea of having folks in their classroom. It's also changed a little bit of the students where they're very comfortable having people come in and out of class. It's a normal experience. But it also changes, oh, there's people looking at what we're doing here. Oh, they're interested in seeing what it is that I'm doing. They're going to ask me, or they might ask me, what are you learning? What are you working on? And as a result, I think that's also changed a little bit of our culture in that this is what we do here.
And we attempt to write 10 to 15 post-its that say what we observed, the students were doing or what they were saying.
Okay.
Once you do that, we get a larger piece of butcher paper and we divide it up into things that we see in common. An easy way to do it would be, what are students saying, what are students doing? But when you get more into it, sometimes you go into levels of depth of knowledge, or blooms, or, oh, this has to do more with the classroom environment, opposed to, oh, this has to do with rigor and what level of rigor it could be. I think that's what as a community of practice, we need to work on more. Really being accepting of that data, and taking it as this is what was seen. It's not necessarily what might be happening, but this was what was seen by outsiders that came to visit our school. Because typically, outsiders that come to visit a school, and even sometimes insiders that are in your school that come to your classroom, they're only there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
They're not going to observe your whole lesson. And sometimes they're going to have to make an inference of what would be the next step.
When we had the math department go, they were the first department to go visit the other school. The other school then came to us, and then English went, and then English came here. And most recently, science and social studies completed their rounds. We've been developing trust. The thing that I walked away from when Fulton was here last was they gave us some warm data. So that's one of the processes of the instructional rounds, is that you come up with the warm data. But then you look at, if I was a student here, what would I be able to do? And then what questions do we have regarding this? And one of the things that I've shared with the teachers when Fulton did come back to us was the warm data, as well as these are some of the questions that they're asking us about what we're doing. And it really spoke to some of the things that we'd been talking about. For instance, the idea of teaching students, but having a task in mind so that the task predicts the performance. What I've seen with the instructional rounds is that the instructional leadership team is starting to really be able to make more decisions based on the data that we collect from these observations.
One thing that our math department really liked seeing was that they were able to, the Fulton math teachers that we were able to visit and observe, they were able to spend their own time after school to come up with their own lesson.
And sometimes you see great things. And I would like to say most of the time you see great things. And that takes you into a path of thinking about your own learning. So I think that my major takeaway about all these instructional rounds that I've been a part of here at school, and the few that I've been out, is the learning for myself.
It made us look at and then question and reflect upon, are we on track with what we said we were going to do, and are we having results? And so it has become a very good cycle of reflection, because we're working, we're completing our tasks and setting some goals and having our professional developments, but then the piece of, are we accomplishing our goals? And when we've completed something, how did it go? Is it changing instruction?
And now let's meet the teacher who produced instructional rounds, Dawn Guest Johnson.
Dawn, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your Vic Awards.
Thank you, glad to be here.
Tell me some of the major considerations that you have to take in place when you create a production, a professional development production, such as instructional rounds.
Well, you want to know what you're doing. The topic was instructional rounds, so I needed to really know what that was. To read books, to figure out what message am I trying to get across, and then what is an instructional round. So you want the information to be correct. You don't want to produce a professional development video and the content is not correct. So that was one of the big things. Then you want to think about Who are you going to interview? How are you going to get this footage? Protecting students' rights, you know, with video and film and things like that. And then, you know, putting everything together. You want to make it special, something that people remember.
You've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah.
What do you feel is the best outcome from having students involved in video production?
Empowering students, giving them a voice. We just finished our first SAG short film, and we hired SAG actors. We went through the breakdown services and casting. We had a real casting session at school, and just giving them the opportunity to work as professionals and produce something so professional, something that they may not think about, was just an amazing experience. So they walked away thinking we accomplished something that a studio could accomplish, or you know, a production company could accomplish at Sun Valley. So the empowerment thing and raising them up to be leaders is priceless.
Well, Dawn, thank you for joining us, and congratulations to you and your students.
Thank you.
To learn more about the Video in the Classroom Awards, go to our website, klcs.org, and click on the Education tab. There you'll also learn how to go about submitting your own classroom video productions, and look for our upcoming online series, Hollywood Homeroom. Until next time, keep those cameras rolling.